Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Hope you all survived the cold snap over the weekend here in Alberta. And welcome to another episode of Tea and Coffee with Paula and
Jay, and if you didn't survive, you wouldn't be able to hear this message. So I guess you did. So we're going to presume you did survive. And thank you very much for joining us on Monday. It was a very busy weekend for all of us, the Levine family home, and all over Alberta, especially in Edmonton.
Yep. I am a bit tuckered today. I think Jason was tuckered last night, but yeah, it was a very busy weekend. And you have a lot to share from being at the UCP AGM starting Friday.
We do, but let's start with Marvin's update. That's what we'll start calling it now. Marvin's update. Marvin, we think we may have a solution to our underheating. So we moved it around yesterday, got it all hooked up, and we're going to test it out. We got water back because you ran into some water issues. You had some frozen stuff.
Yes. It's always as soon as husband leaves, hey, you wake up and there's no water.
Not even. It was while I was driving. You called me.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
wow, okay.
It was cold Friday, Saturday. We're talking like minus 20, minus 25 temperatures, and so like wood stove was chugging away, keeping that area warm. But yeah, there's a certain patch that once it's minus 10 and below, it just it needs heat. And so anyway, long story short, we sorted it out, but we rectified it. The kids and I survived. We survived the weekend. All is good. All is good. It's
How was your weekend? You went and hung out with the kids?
Yeah, what did we do? Oh yeah, Friday night was mother-son's bonding time, so I took them to the new Zootopia 2 movie. They enjoyed that. That was a nice surprise because they didn't know it was, first of all, they forgot it was out, and they didn't know we were going, so I took them to that. And then Saturday took them to the Breton Christmas market, which was very, very good. They had their hayride, they had the photo taken with Santa, and had a good time. They did their shopping. So one thing really cool that Breton does for the FCSS, which is Family Center Services, whatever, but they have $2 shopping for the kids. So they have stuff for little kids, like brothers, sisters, and the parents. So that's been a bit of an annual tradition that we send the kids in with some money, and they do their Christmas shopping for us. They enjoyed that. They did that this Saturday. And then hung out, had some fun, and yeah, I was dog sitting for a friend. They were congratulations to the Drayton Valley New Force. They're like the 15-year-old team, and they came home with gold this weekend. They were out in Redwater, and they were out there Friday. Came back late. Oh no, came back I think Sunday. But yeah, they came home with gold. So well done to our guy, who's our happy helper, who's on the team as well as a defenseman.
I'm pretty sure cutting all that wood, bucking all that wood is what got them that
Yes, you're
goal.
welcome.
Yep. We kept him very physical, strong, upper body strength. There you go. That's what you need on a defenseman, right?
Yeah. But yeah, congrats to them. They came home with the gold. And so I had to go let the dogs out a few times for our friend.
Who let the dogs out?
I let the dogs out. And so, yeah. So that was productive, local stuff for me and the boys. But yeah, dealing with home and water, I just added to the list. What are you going to do? C'est la vie.
Yeah, and then, of course, Friday we packed up and I went to the AGM and set myself up. That was a lot of fun. We're going to talk about, basically this whole episode will be about it. We got Derek Smith joining us. He's the Fringe, Unacceptable Fringe, I think it is. He'll be joining us at the 30-minute mark, talk about his experience, what he saw as well. And yeah, everybody was there. Marty up north was there. We saw the whole crew. Lots of good people were hanging out. Sharing their perspectives. There's a lot of conversations going on. We ran into the premiere once and did some press stuff with her as well. So I'll get into those details with you. But I enjoyed it. I definitely was the black sheep in that media galley area. I was the only one who was streaming, who was providing information to people. And I don't think many of them wanted me there because they're all the mainstream people.
Yeah.
Not a lot of chatty going on. But at the end of the day, I think we did what we could to provide some coverage. I'll be even more prepared next time. I'll probably bring a camera so we can have some better views. And learn some things about the audio setups. So hopefully that's repeated each year because then we can pipe into their audio and bring the stream to you. But for ad hoc, we didn't know what we could do and what we could expect. And big shout out to Max. So we'll get into that in a bit. But you watched some of it?
Yeah, I did. For when I wasn't at the market, yes, I joined. I was in the chats for the stream because also I wanted to know what was going on. I was very curious as well. I didn't know you did one on Friday, so I woke up Saturday morning, and I said, okay, let's go through this. oh, Jason did a stream. And this is my husband. So he starts off with, well, I'm not sure how long we're going to do this for because we'll see how it goes. 1 hour and 21 minutes later is when you finally finished on Friday. It's hilarious.
It's like shopping with a woman, right? 10 minutes.
I beg your pardon.
Well, other women, I guess. Yeah, you're not bad. But, when they give you like, oh, just be here for 10 minutes and hour 21 minutes later. There you go. But I wasn't sure what we were going to do.
Yeah.
Okay, we went there. At first, I thought I was just going to live post like I did last year. Because last year, they did not allow cameras. And they didn't allow you to stream anything. So that's what I was expecting. But then when I got there, they actually did not stop you. They said, go ahead. And I didn't have all the equipment, so I did what I could. So just grabbed my little portable camera, faced it towards the front. I had the laptop camera facing me. I set it up, and I think it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. I think so as well. And at least the feedback in the chat was like people just appreciated the fact that you were there, you were talking, you were giving them a heads up, and like I said, the play-by-play. So I didn't see anything negative in the chat. And when there was sound issues, bless you and Max kind of rectified it, and everyone were happy campers after that. So it worked.
And CBC was sitting 2 seats left to me, and we didn't have the best start. Okay, he was kind of being a little bit bossy and trying to tell me what I should and shouldn't do, and trying to basically indoctrinate me into the media pit on how they wanted me to act, which included not having a live stream. Like, no, thanks a lot for your advice, no problem. Friday, though, I was in the back row where I had my banner behind me, and then the second day I moved to the front row, so I had nobody in front of me on the press side of things, just a clear shot. But then the guy who had sat behind me had to sit behind a banner. He said he didn't mind because obviously he didn't care what was being said. He was just there doing his writing. But the one lady with the mask was not pleased with me at all. When I moved to the front, she was right to my left. She got the mask on, the only person in the entire building with one on. And she goes to me, she goes, are you going to be talking at all? Like, the entire time. I'll be talking the entire time. I'm commentating and I'm doing live stream. She goes, well, that's rude. Like, yeah, well, I'm going live in a minute. So deal with it. Like, just deal with it. She ended up moving and complaining, and you can see the people there like just kind of staring at me. But it didn't matter. So as I went through and did my coverage, at one point I mentioned to the guy beside me, oh, look, we got 5,000 people watching. And then the CBC guy goes, what? Sorry, what? And he's asking me about it. Like, yeah, we had 5,000 people watching. Like, really? Like, yeah. So more people were watching the stream than was actually at the AGM because there's about 4,000 people there. So I'm glad people were able to get that information and watch that stuff live. But he was flabbergasted. So he interviewed me, took a picture, and he says he's going to do a write-up about it. So look, if I end up on the CBC, they came to me because they were surprised about how well the people wanted to get this information and how we were providing it to them.
I think old media needs to clear out the cobwebs and learn the new concept of new media. I think that's the case.
We are the media now.
Yeah.
We are the media now. Because we even had comments and people chatting with us and back and forth in real time. Like, this is blowing his mind as he's working on his computer. Nothing's live. And you'll know him because he was the one, Jason something, CBCNN. He was like surprised that there was support for independence. There was a little clip of him on the media. Like they pre-record kind of thing and then put shit out. So I saw him for Friday when he was really surprised about Jeffrey Ross' question. It's like, really? Like, I don't know what. There's some independence people here. That's the guy. So Jason from CBC came up to Jason from the Levine Show and was shocked at our coverage and the reach we were getting from Arizona to Ontario, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, BC, all over Alberta. There were people tuning in.
Yeah, no, it was really great to see. Thanks to everyone who was in the chat and stayed and interacted and shared their points of view. I enjoyed being in there and seeing what people had to say. It was very cool.
And I also think the media was getting a little annoyed with me because about 100 people came up to me at one point and said, "Hey, Jason, thanks a lot for your coverage. Hey, nice to see you." And introduced themselves and chatted for a bit. You caught a lot of that on the stream.
Yeah.
Because some of it was live. I'm like, hey, I'm streaming. No, it's okay. Hey,
we got to see lots of people's guts.
Yeah, fair enough. But nobody did that to anybody else in the media pit at all. Like, they didn't have anybody come up and say, hey, how you doing?
Hey, you're my favorite CBC or you're my favorite National Post person or anything like that. No.
Nope, didn't happen.
Wah, wah.
Didn't happen. So yeah, I stuck out like a sore thumb. I had my banner. I had my whole setup. Talking like crazy, people coming up talking, and I like them being a black sheep in that little group.
Yeah, no, good for you. And I'm just, like I said, glad you were there, and again, be able to bring that information out to people, because a lot of people are curious, like, what is an AGM, political AGM, like? What goes on during the course of the day? So you're able to show them.
Yeah, and we'll do more coverage at the next one in Calgary. So I'll bring my camera. We'll have a couple more angles set up, be able to get a better view of the stage and the people on the stage. And we'll probably keep coverage the entire time. So that would include the policy questions and debating and stuff like that, which we didn't do on this one. We just basically did Danielle Smith's Bear Pit on Friday, her keynote and accountability on Saturday, and then the election results for the board later on Saturday. So we did those 3 little segments. One of them was like 4 hours long, so that's a little.
Yeah.
But next year, we'll probably have full coverage for the entire thing, because now I know how they set things up. So we'll do that. And yeah, so there's also a video going around I'm going to share with you all.
I think this was the most important interview you did.
The most important interview I did. Yeah, we'll also get into Jeffrey Rasting. But yeah, so if you didn't catch the video, you'll find it on my X. And I'm going to share it with you right now, because this has been going around. I'm not sure if you guys know who the most Albertan man in the world is, but here you go.
He once rode across the plains of Alberta on a buffalo to attend the UCP annual general meeting in Edmonton. He first gave an interview to Rebel News. He told them Alberta's independence was coming soon. He met with Mitch Sylvester from the Alberta Prosperity Project, and Ottawa immediately got nervous. He shook hands with Chris Scott, met Ava Chipiuk and Danny Bulford, legends of the Freedom Convoy. Jason Levine interviewed him, and Alberta's independence movement gained 3 percentage points instantly. He discussed the new constitution with Jeff Rath and Keith Wilson. The hardest part was not overusing the word freedom. He doesn't want to fix Canada. He wants to free Alberta. He is the most Albertan man in the world.
So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So a lot of people on my X are like, oh, look, so he's not AI, he's real. It's a lot of fun. What was going on there, how quickly that video came out. And at the end, there was a Jeffrey Rath thing that happened on Friday. So if you didn't watch the coverage and you weren't there, you maybe don't know what happened there. But Jeff Rath went up to, this was during the Bear Pit. So when the whole cabinet was up there, Danielle Smith was up on stage, he took a mic and went up, because that's what they were doing. They were taking questions.
Yeah.
And as soon as he said, hello, my name is Jeffrey Rath, and then he said the riding he's from, the whole place started applauding. And that wasn't normal, because normally people say their name, where they're from, and then they ask their question. People knew who Jeff Rath was.
Yes.
For sure. He started applauding, and then he asked, well, first he kind of laid out his foundation, which was, your MOU, it's going to add 600% increase in carbon tax, your so-called MOU or something along those lines. And then he asked the audience who favors an independent Alberta, a free and independent Alberta. He turned to the crowd and asked him a question. That was absolutely by far the largest applause for the entire event. It looked like everybody was up on their feet. The media stood up on their chairs in the pit that we were at, trying to capture some pictures and video of what was going on there. They never did that before, and they didn't do that again. So it was clear that there was a lot of support for that. And I couldn't tell from where I was, but I learned later they cut his mic. Yeah. So there was some more questions. But what I did hear was, after he said that and the applause was happening, I did hear some rumbling from the crowd. And I was wondering, what was that all about? That turned out to be the mic cut.
People the chat were not happy about that at all. Yeah, that lingered even like into the Saturday. They were talking about it. And
that was the only mic cut that I heard the entire time, including a lady who was calling everybody in that room racist. She came up and said the UCP is an exclusive white-only organization. As she's standing there, obviously she got her membership and she was there too. But she said it has to be more diverse because it's got a bunch of racists in it. And I was like, wow, like really, you're saying that? Like, look around. You're here. Nobody booed her, and her mic didn't get cut off. But it was back to the Jeffrey Rath thing. And then Danielle Smith asked, well, who wants an independent Alberta? And everyone's like, just waiting for the rest of that within the United Canada. And then that got some boos. Yeah. I do want to highlight something, okay, because there's a lot of misinformation by the press out there that's saying the UCP membership is divided and that Danielle Smith herself got booed. She didn't. She didn't. I'll be very clear with that right now. She got lots of cheers when she took the stage. The second, third, and fourth most loud applauses were for her. The fifth was Mitch Sylvester when he won his award.
Yeah.
But Jeffrey Rath certainly took the number one spot there. But some of her ideas or things she was sharing got booed. So Friday, before the Bear Pit, when she opened the AGM, she talked about the MOU. That got some boos. People don't like it right now. Okay, they don't like it. They think it was too left leaning, too much aligned with Carney. I can tell you, we got Rob Anderson coming on the show. That's Danielle Smith's chief of staff. He was going to be coming on the show on Friday. He was part of the negotiations. He wants to explain the MOU to our audience, so that will be on Friday. But she got some boos for that. Again, it's not her that got the boos. It's the ideas she was sharing with the audience.
Yeah.
And then the next one was when she said a United Canada, Alberta in the United Canada, that got some boos as well. And then when she responded to Jeffrey Rath, that got some boos. But the rest of the time, there's a lot of support for Danielle, for sure. The premier is strong within the party. It's not 91%, though. I'll tell you that. It's going to be a 7 or an 8 in front of it right now. But don't believe the mainstream media when they say it's all divided.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, they're stabbing her in the back. Like, don't believe the mainstream media on that one. They're actually trying to do the division. At the AGM, lots of people were talking. They were covering their opinions about the MOU and some of the other stuff. But overall, there's support for Danielle Smith. The party is not fractured at this stage at all. So I did want to highlight that because I was seeing the media and the comments, and a lot of people were upset.
Yeah, and I think there's a good comment here from Squirrel Nuts on X. Booed for what she said, not booed for her.
Correct.
Left-wing media.
Exactly. That's exactly a good way to put it. And that's fair because she's there at the AGM to get to hear from members. So the members spoke and they were very clear. We don't like the MOU. We don't like these push on sovereign Alberta within United Canada. But that is her current mandate. And I did get a press question to her after her keynote. There's we had to go to a different room. The press was all in there. And my question to her was about her mandate. She mentioned at a previous press conference that she was elected on the mandate of sovereign Alberta in the United Canada, and that's what she's been working on. The tides have shifted since she's been elected, I think it's fair to say, especially since the election of Carney. It's definitely shifted, and the sentiment now is we're done. A lot of people say we're done. We don't want to be in the United Canada anymore. However, that was not what she was elected on.
Correct,
she didn't run on independence, and she was clear about that. She did say in that interview that give me a new mandate, and I'll work with you. The mandate is where she gets her direction after an election or a referendum. So then when I saw her in that press question period, that's what I asked her. I said, you mentioned that you have a mandate, you were elected on, you're firm on that, and then you also said gave you a new mandate. I mentioned Jeff Rath's question. It got a very warm reception, and I'm sure we'll post this later because I do have the video. And then I asked, and if there's a successful referendum, would you consider that your new mandate? Now, she didn't say yes or no, but what she did do was lay out all the steps to get to that point. So first, it got past the court question, got to get the signatures, got to get the referendum in front of the people, and got to be successful with that referendum. Ironically, she was kind of laying out like an MOU. How we get to there. And then she said, and then ask me the same question when we get to that point. So I will. I'll follow up with her for sure. And she is going to come back on the show. Hopefully it's a morning show, but it might be whenever she's available. We'll get another 15, 20 minutes with her to talk about the MOU and the AGM. So she'll be on as well. And this Thursday, we have Jason Steffen, MLA. He's going to be on the show too, talking about the recall that's going on, because he's one of the ones that is being recalled, and exactly what happened at the AGM, what's going on in cabinet. So we'll have a good conversation with him on Thursday. So Thursday and Friday, I'm going to get some more people to you so we can have some of these conversations.
Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to it. Chat's looking forward to it. I just want to quickly highlight a couple things. So those, there's been a couple of comments from those who follow us in Facebook, didn't get the notification. Sometimes you just need to check that you are still following, and if not, double check the click
notification of what?
that the show was on. So people say, "Oh, I didn't know the show was
Could
on."
be Facebook suppression stuff, folks.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
there. It was there. And you can go watch a replay. It's still there.
Yeah, exactly.
So sorry if you didn't catch it live. But next year, we will definitely be set up to go live. And you should be fully aware by that time and check it out.
And Colleen, I'm sorry you broke your arm. I hope you have wish you a speedy recovery.
Oh, sorry. So there I am on Friday against all set up. What a goofy picture I took.
You look cute. Don't worry.
Okay, no problem. But there I am on the first day. You can see there's a media line in front of me, and doing my best to get it to you. Yeah, 1 hour 21 minutes. This was the bear pit, and inside here, the Jeffrey Rath question does pop up, and then you see the response. I wonder if we can quickly just get to it because it's easy to tell when it was. Because the press stood up on their chairs. Let me just see if I can pull it up. Oh, I'm not sure where it is.
True.
Anyways, you'll find it. Apparently, my reaction was genuine. People were surprised. Ran into Daniel Smith at the hospitality suite for the APP. Really, it was Alberta Prosperity Project suite. She came in to have some chats, and she didn't remember me from Bonnyville, but she remembered me from our interview. So it was a quick little chat there. The security here over her shoulder. Yeah, she's surrounded by lots of security, but it was a good chat. And somebody posted on here, well, that deserves an unfollow. Okay. If me talking to the leader of Alberta upsets you to the point where you unfollow me, we'll see you. I'm a journalist, so I need to be able to be respected to the point where I can get access to leaders and have conversations with them. So that's what I'm there for.
Yeah.
I'm not all of a sudden her best buddy. We're not besties or anything like that, but we certainly have a respect where we can chat.
Yeah.
And I want to maintain that. So if that upsets you to the point of an unfollow, you probably can't hear this message anyways.
Yeah.
So have yourself a nice day. A lot of people picked up the book. Nobody picked up the t-shirt, but a lot of people picked up the book while they were there. And maybe next time Paula will be there too, because people are asking about you. Like, where is she? Next time we'll have you sitting there with the book and t-shirt.
Yeah, and also next year we have a son that'll be 1 year older, can then do babysitting, because right now he's not old enough to watch his brother, and we can have different arrangements.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. It's going to be in Calgary. So
yeah,
we'll get
exactly.
This done. Yeah. And then also day 2, as you can see now, I'm in the front row. Nobody's in front of me. And this was a much longer one, 4 hours, 30 minutes. I did get a lunch in there. I did vote. So I ran away for a little bit. But it was a nice little setup. Thanks to Max, who came over with this little mixing board, which allowed me to tap into the microphone system so we can get you nice, clear audio. And he got to set up like a moment before Danielle took the stage.
Yeah, it was perfect timing.
So thanks to everybody that stayed with us and the patience. You can see my front camera there. You can see me hanging out with my banner. And yeah, had a good time. Had a good time.
I have a pressing question, though.
Oh, yeah?
They hope you enjoyed the cookies.
Oh, yes. Okay, so she's there? Yeah.
No, but it's someone else. But it says, but someone else who's clearly watching says, "Good morning, Jason Paula. Great weekend. Hope you enjoyed the cookies." Actually, I don't know.
That might be the person.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe if that was you, let me know if it was in our locals chat.
Yeah.
Was
There was a couple short break. I actually shared it with Max, but Max came over, so I gave him one of them. Thanks for the setup. So your cookies went a long way if that's you. But there was quite a few people that I met in person that I only knew from online. So there's some faces I can put to their names now. It's really great. They're real. They're real.
They're real.
One of the things that did come out, this was kind of hinted to me in the hallway by Mickey Amory, who's going to come on the show again sometime soon. Alberta will refuse to enforce the federal gun seizure program, which means when their federal government says, hey, go collect those guns, Alberta's not going to do that.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan said they're going to do it, but federal government should pay for it, or the government will pay for it, reimburse you. Alberta, no, hands off our guns. And Albertans can legally defend their homes and families from home intruders. So there's going to be no prosecutions if somebody breaks into your house and harms themselves.
A further clarification would be perfect, but yeah, that's where it's heading towards.
Yeah.
So she didn't say Castle Doctrine, but
well, she can't. So the criminal code is federal, but the prosecutions are provincial. So she is going to direct and provide recommendations that we don't prosecute for this kind of stuff.
Excellent.
And her comment was very clear. If you don't want to get shot, do not break into someone's home.
Correct.
So very clear.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And she did hint at that was coming, and then she came on stage shortly after and presented it to us. There were several things that happened in the policy side of things that were very welcomed. People enjoyed them. Yeah, just so stay tuned. I may get a full breakdown of all the votes and how they went. But also remember, these are not law. Some people were posting like, oh, look, Alberta will no longer pay for third trimester abortions. That's a recommendation from the party that was voted on and passed. It's now up to the government to implement it. Good news is I was speaking to some of the policy people after, and last year's policy recommendations, a good chunk, a majority of them, if not a massive majority, were implemented. So there's a lot of hope that a lot of these will be picked up as well and turned into laws that we see here in Alberta.
Hope so.
Yep. And then the board election results wasn't exactly the way we wanted. There was a whole bunch of people we were hoping to get on that board. But at the end of the day, it's still a good board. So it's definitely shifted a little bit more to the right towards right-leaning things. And we also got our Helen as the VP of fundraising. She got, after four recounts.
Yeah.
It was finally determined that she won. But we didn't get Daryl Comic. But Rob Smith isn't a horrible person. So let's be clear about that. It's not like we lost in any way, shape, or form. Rob Smith is an independence guy. And now he has more people on that board that support him on that. So let's just look forward to seeing where that board goes in the very near future. And yeah, I'm okay with it.
And it was our local supporter who gave you the cookies.
Right on. Thank you very much. Yeah, they're sweet ladies. A little pair of them came over and hung out with me a couple times. And thanks for the cookies, for sure. And Max, thanks to you as well. So I shared. I paid it forward. And then we watched this video. So yeah, you guys can go ahead and comment if you think this is real or AI or what's going on there. There's a lot of mixed responses to this for sure. But at the end of the day, I was really honored to participate. I had no idea this video was going to come out. I got tagged in it at the end of, I think it was Saturday even. Yeah, it would have been Saturday because, yeah, I guess you can see in the video, I'm in the front row there with my setup. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And all of these people in this video, we all know them. We all chat. And Ezra unblocked me on his X, and it was cordial in a couple encounters that we had during the event. So we'll see where that goes. But it was kind of neat to be part of that.
Yeah.
And 3 percentage points.
I know. That's what got me. I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, 3 percentage points for the interview. So yeah, go ahead and comment if you think that's AI or not. A lot of people are split on that one. But yeah, pretty cool. But that is the expo. That's where we were. This is exactly like if you look here, this is all the people that were there. This is the main corridor. I did a bunch of interviews, so those might be popping out. Okay, now I'm going to catch up on the news as we wait for our featured guest in the next couple minutes. So we knew this was coming. So from the Atlantic, let's declare a pandemic amnesty. We need to forgive one another for what we did and said when we were in the dark about COVID, by Emily Oster. We saw this comment. There were hints of this, that they were going to be asking for this. And my response to Emily is politely, no thanks, Emily.
Yeah.
People were killed, injured, and lives and careers were ruined. We need accountability and justice. The people we should start with are the ones asking for amnesty, especially in media.
Yeah.
Because frankly, well, you know what you did.
Yeah.
You just followed the script. You didn't do any research. You didn't bring on any counterpoints. You just pushed that narrative as hard as you could. You were paid to do it. You were trying to keep your job. You were trying to get promotions. You were trying to get yourself out there. You knew what you were doing when it comes to the media. So, of course, you're going to be some of the first that are pushing out to try and get it. You know, let's just forget about that.
Yeah.
This is an admission that they understand they screwed up.
Yep. Oh,
Okay?
for sure.
This is an admission that they know they screwed up. And this is why they're asking for it right now.
Because otherwise they ask for amnesty for what?
Exactly. They know they screwed up.
Yeah.
And then I got one more here. This is from Polling Canada.
Ugh.
Separatist parties of any political stripe in this country are deeply cringe. Well, one way to my post here is one way to discredit any polls you release is to take a public political position on anything. Canadian polling had some of the worst, most biased polls I saw around the federal election. Now we know why. just like state media, it appears we also have unfair polling. Shocker. Not really, but shocker. And then there's a picture, a photograph of the most Albertan man in the world hanging out for an interview on the Levine Show. Good times. But it was good times. And speaking of good times, we got Derek here now because it's great to see him in person. And by the way, surrounded by fans all the time. They're coming up to him and having conversations with him. So yeah, definitely he has his reach. And let's go ahead and bring him on. Good morning, Derek.
Good morning.
Good. How are you? Good to be here.
We're good. We're good. How are you doing first thing in the morning?
Oh, it's been a long weekend. It was exhausting. I'll tell you. Like you said, there's people everywhere wanting to say hello, talk about politics. You can't take two steps in those conventions without somebody wanting to have an in-depth conversation. But you know what? That's all part of the game. I love it. I love every minute of it. The engagement over the weekend was absolutely amazing. I couldn't be happier with the turnout.
Yeah, and I was trying to figure out where to put my equipment on Friday because I wasn't sure if I could just leave it somewhere or whatnot. So I went to go find out, and it took me an hour just to go to one end to the other because people were stopping me. I did some interviews and just saw everybody. I also got distracted. Like, oh, there's Keith Wilson. Let's go talk to him. But yeah, everybody was there. Basically, everybody was there. Did you run into the most Albertan man in the world there?
I didn't have a chance. I know he was making his round Saturday after Danielle's keynote, and unfortunately, family things going on. My kids needed me at home for something, so I took off. But good news is Keith Wilson, in a slap back at the most Albertan man in the world, I've declared Unacceptable Fringe the most Albertan channel in the world. So I've spoken out to Keith Wilson and said, I understand you know where I can find this guy. I think we're going to have him on the channel for an interview real soon.
That would be great. And 3 percentage points bump when you do the Levine Show. So hopefully that'll help you out as well. I appreciate you coming on. But it was great to meet you in person and everybody else. And you certainly had a lot of people coming up to you saying, you changed my life. Thank you for bringing the truth out. Really glad that you do what you do. So yeah, by the way, I echo that. Really glad that you do what you do. I was listening to some of your podcasts on the way into the AGM, especially some of your commentary around the MOU. And the support for Danielle. So thanks for putting that out there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, you do great work as well, Jason. Everybody here is all contributing to making sure people are getting the information that they can't get from the mainstream media. People that say, hey, this changed my life. I always find that a little gobsmacked. We're talking politics, right? We're just talking facts. And it's really unbelievable to me anytime, people say that just coverage or just the truth is changing things for them or putting them out of a dark spot. I know we have fun on the show sometimes, but I've heard that about your show. I've heard that about John Bolton. I've heard that about PJ the Belt. So, I mean, it's good if we're doing what we're doing and it's helping people. But when it comes to going into this weekend, I mean, there's positives when you're dealing with the public. There's also negatives. I mean, as soon as you start trying to spin facts out of what's going on with this MOU, despite the fact that it's absolute garbage, I mean, people get angry, and I'm actually shocked at the pushback that we've seen since the MOU was announced.
Yeah, and it was tough. Like I was covering it live as the press conference was happening, and I had my raw response right away. And literally, the first words out of my mouth was, "Mark Carney has put her in an early retirement," because I think people are going to be very upset about this. They don't want carbon capture. They don't want the carbon tax. They definitely don't want net zero by 2050. Like, there's a lot of things that were really upsetting people, and there's no commitment. Like, even if Alberta does everything that they say in there, it still is just, well, you can apply, you can put your project plan in, and we'll see where we are then. There's no commitment either. And then the BC, the First Nation side of things makes it difficult. Stakeholders, private investment, like there's a lot of trouble with that.
Yeah.
And it was very raw. And I think you covered quite a few of those issues on your show as well.
Well, I think what people have to remember, and keep in mind, I'm certainly not making excuses for Mark Carney or Danielle, but when it comes to carbon capture or an industrial carbon tax, Alberta, and Danielle touched on this, has been doing this since 2007. So long before the Trudeau days, long before things were rough in Canada. And oil and gas, even though it's technically passed on to us, was still running full steam. Projects were still getting greenlit. We had a boom in 2009. My wife's been in the oil business for over 20 years, and I can tell you right now that um, what people react to, if they're not in the oil and gas business or have any experience in the oil and gas business, it sounds worse than it is. And that's, again, I don't think the MOU is worth what it's written on paper, but attacking the party and attacking the premier over this is almost like it was an intentional from Mark Carney. They don't like Danielle Smith. The system does not like Danielle Smith. She's the only premier who's standing up for Canadians' rights, the only premier who's trying to make sure we have our sovereignty, that, the federal reach isn't too strong on us. I'm almost worried. While some people will say, "Hey, you're shilling or playing damage control for Danielle Smith," I know I happened to be in her office last week, but the fact of the reality is whether or not I was invited to that meeting, I don't want the NDP in power in Alberta, and I'm worried that as the independence movement moves forward, and that starts to gain steam, that you're starting to get people that want to rush a vote, and we're going to get into a position where we're quickly going to dissolve the UCP in order to try and get independence, and it's going to backfire and end up with an NDP government.
Oh, well, so I don't know if you were there, but I got into the presser after her keynote where we were able to ask her questions. And I think it was on your show where you highlighted an interview that she did where Jeff Rath was brought up by the reporter. And she said, well, my mandate that I was provided by the people when I ran was a sovereign Alberta inside a united Canada. But if you give me a new mandate, then I would follow that mandate. So I followed up with her on Saturday, and I asked her, if there's a successful referendum, would you consider that a mandate? And then she laid out all the steps to get to that point, and then said, when we get to that point, come back and ask me that question. So she didn't say no. She didn't say yes. And I don't think UCP is going to fracture over this issue. I think what we're going to see is we'll get to that referendum and we'll get that result. There's no way this UCP party that I saw over the weekend is willing to break up and hand NDP a victory. We will definitely get behind the leader and do that. And I didn't really honestly see a lot of people calling for her to be removed as the leader. I saw a lot of people frustrated with the MOU, but also excited about a lot of other things she's bringing forward. Did you gauge that sentiment? Like, did you talk to people about whether or not they want a new leader at this stage?
I spoke with a lot of people at the AGM, and many of those people agreed with my take that, look, if you crunch the numbers, if you do the math, I've pulled up Danielle's electoral numbers from when she ran against Rachel Notley. Keep in mind, this is at a time when the NDP had its potential to sink its claws into Alberta again, and only 52% of voting Albertans, which equaled 900,000 votes at the time, put Danielle Smith into office. So if we're talking about independence and a referendum vote, if we were to have one tomorrow or in 3 months, it would ultimately fail. Corey Morgan highlights this in his book, The Sovereignist Handbook. I'd recommend to anybody who's on the fence about independence or is pro-independence to go check it out, because it really explains the importance of us taking our time and making sure that with the one shot that we get, we have the numbers we need. The people at the AGM were mostly focused that I agree with that. We need to take our time. We can't blame the premier, but the consensus, and I know there could be bots and everything else online, but the consensus on other independent style YouTube channels alongside this one is she's got to go. I don't trust her. She's WEF, which is the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard. There's people saying, we need a vote tomorrow or install the APP as leadership in Alberta. For those people, I always say, just pump the brakes a bit. Let's take the emotion out of it. I'm just as fed up with, Alberta where it is as we are. I don't agree with the federal government. I don't think there's any saving, the Canada that everybody used to know. A lot of the turmoil came up with Jeff Rath's speech during, or I guess his question during Danielle's question period of who wants an independent Alberta. And if you watch closely in that clip, a lot of people got upset because we said, look, watch his time counting down as he's up there talking. He asked the audience to stand up, and he's at about 3 seconds on the clock. And for the next 15 seconds, people are clapping their hands. It came back to Jeff, and his mic was cut off. And all of a sudden, there's this protest of, oh, they cut off his mic. Oh, look, Danielle doesn't want to talk about independence. it had nothing to do with it. He was clearly out of time. He was way over his time. That's just how the show goes. So I think what people got to realize, and where you said there's no fracture within the UCP here, I'm starting to see a definite fracture in the independence crowd. And if we don't stop and smell the roses and realize that, look, the foundation has been laid out by the UCP for a referendum to take place, it's now on the hands of APP and the public to lead that initiative and move forward to have a successful referendum. I don't understand why so many people are so eager for the premier to give her nod for it. I personally would say, if you're trying to get away from the government, the last thing you want is the government involved. I don't get it, but that's me.
Yeah, actually, I like that point of yours
Mm.
because I kind of the first time ran across my head is you're right. You don't want the government to be involved. You want this to be a citizens one. And there's a couple comments in the chat here. I just want to quickly address from this Trevor Benson guy.
Mhm.
You're thinking very superficial there, Trevor. The equalization payment is not
Yeah.
the only issue that
It's
Canada
more than that.
has against Alberta. We got no tanker ban. We got the no tanker ban. We got the pipeline ban. We've got a lot more going on. And I do want to kind of also highlight that he thinks that what was that one comment?
The provinces.
That the provinces have to approve. That's
Yeah.
not true at all, Trevor. Go read the Clarity Act. I
Yeah.
guess you don't understand how this works. You're just replicating a lot of the tropes that we hear in the mainstream media. So wanted to address that quickly on that one because there is a process. So Danielle laid it out in my question to her. First, you got to get past this court decision, which is going to come out in December. And I think, Derek, that if that comes back in the positive, that's going to kind of sideline the whole argument about First Nations and treaties, because that's basically what the court's taking a look at, is whether or not it would violate those treaties. And if the answer comes back as no, it doesn't, and it moves forward to the next step, Danielle was clear. Next, you need to get those 177,000 signatures. Then you need to get them validated. Then the government needs to take a look at it. And with the Thomas Usakic's petition, this could all be coming together in spring, early summer, is the way she put it. And then you need to get a successful referendum. Whether or not it's too early, whether or not we need it later, I think the ball's already rolling, and we're going to find out. Now, it may lead to a no, which then means, okay, well, we got the mandate from Alberta. The mandate is no, we want a united Canada to keep working on it. And then maybe some more movement on that MOU and some other stuff could happen. If it comes back as a strong no, like 30% or so, I think we're going to be in more trouble with Ottawa because they're just going to ignore us more. But if it comes back at like what we saw with Quebec in the high 40s, or like very close to a win, then you might have the leverage that Quebec ended up getting, because having a second referendum in the next few years after that may be more successful. If it comes back as a yes, she'll also have a new mandate and see where we go with it. But I do agree with you. I don't think there's a division in UCP, like the media is saying, but there's two groups. There's the group that says stick to the current mandate, which is United Canada, and we want a new mandate. That's basically it. But I don't think there's a division with the leadership at all. And I didn't hear many people calling for her to leave.
Well, what I think there is, and the way I've tried to lay it out, is that amongst Albertans, and this is part of the reason Danielle talks about a mandate, there are those who are stuck on this vision that the Conservative Party of Canada can save us, and that Confederation works, even if they're Conservative style voters. So what they're going to need to see is that Canada truly is broken. That maybe with this MOU, that Mark Carney's not going to do anything. There's nothing beneficial, and they have to decide on their own how we move forward. Um, the question I ask to those who are upset with the MOU is, what if Danielle didn't sign it? Could you imagine the backlash from Ottawa instantly saying, well, she doesn't want to work with Team Canada. We tried to make an offer. We offered a pipeline, but Danielle turned it down. This is all about separatism. This is all like, they use those key words. If you look at the mainstream media since the AGM, they've all had articles. Even Don Braid and those guys that are heavy liberal type have been saying, oh, look, there's so much division amongst separatists. Isn't it wonderful? It's breaking down. This is exactly what they wanted, and people are feeding into it. If you truly want independence, I think patience is the key. I think APP, when you look at that court decision, we haven't even got it yet, and people are talking about, well, it's already decided. They're going to turn it down. They're going to stall us. They're not going to allow it. Wait for the judge's decision to come through, and then we decide where we go from there. If the judge decides, and anybody who has heard Jeff Rath's closing argument from that courtroom, I mean, it's pretty locked down to win in favor of the APP's question. But if it came back negative, rest assured, this genie's out of the bottle. There's no way of putting it back. When you look at the rally that was held in Edmonton, there would be future rallies. There would be future outpouring support for APP. In fact, a turn down of this question, I think, would only fuel the independence group even further. So I don't see how this is a loss moving forward. I say be patient. Let's wait and see what the answers are. But people have to also understand how politics is played, why Danielle's doing what she's doing. She again has introduced Bill 54. She knew darn well what would happen when Bill 54 came out. That APP would call a referendum. She introduced Bill 1, which protects our sovereignty rights. She talked about castle law over the weekend, right? So, like, why would Danielle be introducing all these things the Ontario government hates if she was so sold on screwing us over to work with the federal government? If for anybody, like, it just doesn't add up to me for anyone who says, well, she's a federalist or she doesn't want Alberta to succeed. It's a very fine line you have to walk in politics, but she's dropped it many times. This has to be citizen led. The government can't have their hands in it. So why so many people again want that nod? I don't know, but it needs to be a citizen led petition, and I think APP has what it takes to get it done.
And I do think, and I always want to 4D chess this a little bit. Dan Smith is one of the smartest people in the room. I'll put that out there for sure. And I think she does have a plan. If it goes to a referendum and it's a yes, if she is just as firm on that mandate as she is on this current mandate, even in the face of a lot of pressure from her own party, if she's just as firm on that mandate, we're all going to be very pleased because she's going to go through that negotiation with Ottawa and be very strong for us. That's great. If it turns out to be a no, she's going to continue to do the within the United Canada work and continue to try and bridge and push back. And at this stage, Derek, you might agree with me on this one. She is politically the largest opposition to Mark Carney in all of Canada, and that includes Poilievre. She is by far the one fighting Carney more than anybody else. And if Poilievre is not successful with his leadership review, that door might open for Danielle to maybe become the leader of Canada. If she's in that federal position, guess who can green stamp the pipeline? Because it is a federal decision. You don't even need BC to agree with it. If this is 4D chess and she's trying to work a sovereign Alberta in or outside of Canada, depending on how the citizens vote, she might actually be on track to become the prime minister in the future. And then that would absolutely, if she continues to fight for Alberta, would open up all the doors for Alberta. What are your thoughts about that?
I've had that argument with people many times where, look, I've got viewers from all over Canada and the United States and, well, the world, but the majority are Canada, US. And I've said to them that, when they say she's a federalist, well, with everything she's done for Alberta, would it be so bad if she was in charge of the country and had a majority government? I mean, I definitely think she has more pull than Poilievre, even though I like Pierre. I think that, and I'm not encouraging it. I've always told people we're not sharing. We're happy with her where she is. But I think that when you look at the smart things she's done for Alberta, and for those who say, hey, this MOU is just going to destroy her, she doesn't, it's not like she doesn't know what's in this. I see, and I've even seen it in the chat here, people saying, what about the taxes? What about the increase in our taxes? That increase in percentage still hasn't been committed to. Don't forget that Danielle's word on this MOU is just as valuable as Mark Carney's. It's essentially nothing. Marty up north brought up a very good point where he says Alberta didn't gain anything, but Alberta also didn't lose anything in that MOU. But what we are gaining, and this goes back to what you're talking about with federal, is Mark Carney's party is now in disarray. You have Stephen Guilbeault stepping back from Carney's cabinet. You've got the BC Liberals upset because now they're going to be pushing this pipeline out west. You've got multiple Liberals talking about standing down in the next week or so in the rumor mill. So what Danielle has done is what Pierre couldn't. She has caused complete disruption within the Liberal Party of Canada. And if anything, it's going to benefit the Conservative Party of Canada. Pierre is going to be able to pick up some of those numbers because the Liberals are fed up that Danielle or Mark Carney did a deal with Danielle in the first place. When you had Justin Trudeau, you had a united Liberal Party that said, to hell with Alberta, let's put our boots on their necks. They didn't want to move forward at all. Mark Carney, it's about his conflicts of interest. It's about Brookfield. It's about, exactly what Liz Truss warned us about after the Bank of England debacle, that Mark Carney's here just to pad his pockets. So the possibility of Danielle getting into federal politics, I think, is very likely. Should she move forward, I would definitely advocate for it if independence were to fail. I still believe the only path forward for Alberta is independence. But a lot of people, again, misread this tax that comes in the MOU. If we move forward in April, now Danielle has said very firmly in press conferences, and people may have missed it, that if she sees no movement from Mark Carney, which I doubt we will, Alberta has every right to pull out of this and say, well, we're not paying any taxes. The tax begins with, I believe it's a $10 increase in April, and then it goes up this weird 600% everybody's talking about, up to 2050. Now, I'm no advocate for taxes. I always believe taxation is theft. But again, these taxes have existed since 2007, and people weren't any the wiser until Justin Trudeau brought in the personal carbon tax, and people started seeing how that affected their home bills, their groceries, the products they buy. Naturally, oil and gas producers will push that tax back onto the consumer, but it's not going to be at the level that people, again, I only know this from being married to somebody in the oil and gas industry. It's not going to be at the level that cripples everybody's bank accounts like everyone's freaking out about. No tax should be audited. We don't want to supply money to the federal government. This is, again, us being Alberta's credit card. So there's two arguments to that, which I'm for and against, but at the same time, blaming and saying that this is worthless. I think Danielle knows what she's doing. I think that she's caused a huge disruption in federal politics. And again, Alberta has the final say at the end of the day. So let's, again, wait and see what happens. If April comes along and Danielle bends over and nothing's been done on a pipeline, I guarantee you I'll be out there calling her out and saying, what happened? What are we doing? But I bumped into Danielle at the AGM, and we had a brief, maybe 20-second conversation. But I said to her, do you remember in your office? I said, I hope you know what you're doing. And she says, yep. And I said, I'll say it again. I hope you know what you're doing. And she said, just leave it with me. You won't be disappointed. So until she does something bad, I'll leave it with her.
Yeah, and Rob Anderson, he's going to come on the show on Friday, so he was going to take us through the MOU, try and give us an inside perspective on it, like where they're going with that. Some of the things we talked about there, which was the carbon tax. She did highlight that it was slated to go up to 170. She got it down to 130. And I'm not a big fan of the argument of, well, we used to have it, we had it anyways, let's just keep doing it again. But she's allocating those funds towards a carbon capture program. And that carbon capture program failed in Saskatchewan. It captured about 10% of what they were planning to do. There's an analysis about it. It's a big failure. Even Rachel Gilmore, of all people, said carbon capture doesn't work. So why are you putting that on the table to get oil? David, Premier of BC, he said, I would consider a pipeline. That's because it's going to generate lots of revenue, but no tankers. So what? It just gets to the coast and can't go any further than that. And the last thing I want to throw on this is, the cost of our oil on the market, it's going to be so high, it's going to be very difficult to compete or very difficult to generate profit. So I'm not sure who's going to come forward to fund this privately, because with the carbon tax on there, with the cost to Indigenous people who are going to own some of it, BC itself is going to take some of the revenue. By the time you chop this pie up, there's going to be so little left. I don't know if economically this is going to work. I guess that's yet to be seen. But I do think she might be looking at the two roads in front of her. There's either the sovereign Alberta outside of Canada or a more functioning Alberta inside of Canada, with her taking the prime ministership. Because when I cross the country having these conversations, there's a lot of support for Danielle out there all over Canada. People love her. They really respect her, especially if you're conservative. But Poilievre in the parliament threw her under the bus, called the MOU completely worthless and just a photo op for everybody. So there's clearly a little misalignment happening there where Polyev doesn't agree with her on this one. Do you think maybe he's trying to distinguish himself from her as well because he sees the writing on the wall that she's actually his biggest competition when it comes to the federal conservatives?
Well, it's the old saying, you know, when you open up a pizza shop, you don't show somebody else how to open up a competing one across the street. And Danielle does it better. There is no way of putting it other than that. I mean, again, as a person, I like Pierre. I think he's wonderful. I think he's amazing. But as a leader, I think there's been some missteps along with Jenny Byrne and how I know he's got new party leaders or campaign leaders hired on to him. But I think Danielle holds a stronger vision of what Canadians yearn for. They want their sovereignty. They want the ability to truly unlock their economic potentials and not be caught up in bureaucracy. So um, I do believe that if Danielle were to get in, and this was the same argument people had for Ralph Klein back in the day, was why doesn't he run federal? It's people want the Alberta advantage and people want that lifestyle. I hear it all the time from my viewers who are in Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Ontario, especially, where people say, God, I would donate a kidney tomorrow if it meant Danielle Smith was my premier, let alone my prime minister. So I think Pierre definitely has his work cut out for him. What we're going to see in January at the Conservative vote is going to be very telling of where we go moving forward. Um, I've asked Danielle's office, not necessarily the premier, you know, is there a possibility of this? And of course, they won't answer or tell me anything that's going on. But, you know, you always dig and you always ask those questions, but signs point to yes. Um, I think, again, as Danielle talks about a citizen led initiative,
Mhm.
there are two ways we can go. It's either that APP comes forward with their question and Danielle takes a new mandate, or she does more for Alberta than she's ever done before and runs federally. Again, I don't see the problem with it. Jason Kenney talked about running federally. Everybody knows he's a federalist. But nobody wanted Jason Kenney as prime
No.
minister, and I
Alberta
one of my
didn't want
friends,
him in the end.
one of my friends calls him Fat Stalin for a reason. I mean, we don't want Jason Kenney in charge of the country, but somebody like Danielle, when again you look at the rights for transgender families to step in and say no surgeries before 18, no puberty blockers. You look at again laws that, hey, if you don't want to get shot, don't break into people's houses, and no taxes being raised. I don't understand how anybody couldn't champion that and say, well, if she's doing those many great things for Alberta, put her in charge in Canada and let's see what happens there. The only thing I worry about is, and I'm sure Jason, you've been to Parliament Hill or at least talked with enough parliamentarians, is that once you're in that system, you can get lost very easily in terms of favors, in terms of backdoor policies, and the whole cogs in the machine. So where we go from here, I don't know. I would just hope that Danielle continues the work she does if she were ever run federally and stay the course.
And if you zoom out a little bit and you do that 4D chess kind of thinking on it, having some of this green stuff in this MOU could get Toronto and area more in line with her thinking. Like maybe, okay, maybe we do need to bring more energy into Canada, prop up prosperity across Canada. This could be Toronto thinking, and we do need this money to come in, but she's doing it in a clean way. You know, maybe that's the give and take on that one if she's playing 4D chess, because that would be her biggest thing. Yes, she may have a ton of support out west to be the leader. It will be the East that she's got to fight up against. And if this is part of her plan, is to say, well, look, we're bringing in trillions. We have the potential of bringing trillions, but we're doing it in a cleaner way with carbon capture. Even though I don't agree with carbon capture, I'm thinking of a Torontonian. In their mind, they might be, oh, well, she's at least doing it in a clean way. Maybe she does think similar to us on this and would bring forward some of these policies that would be beneficial overall for all of Canada. And if she was successful in keeping Alberta in Canada, that's the way they will see it. If there's a referendum as a no, they will kind of give her credit for keeping Alberta together with Canada. Maybe these are the pieces. And then she's also have the other road. It comes back as a yes. Gotten a new mandate and keep fighting, and she might be the first president of Alberta. So there's not really a lose-lose for her if you're thinking about a 4D chess on a federal level. I'm not a fan. I want to keep her. I want to keep going with what we're doing and get the referendum question on the slate as soon as possible. Do you think there could be an early election? This is something I bounced around to a few people at the AGM, and it was mixed. Because if she does an early election, she can stop all these recalls. There will be no question about the leadership of the UCP. It will be her. And she'll also get her mandate in another 4 years. So the referendum question can happen at a provincial election. So there's a lot of birds that can be killed with one stone here if you called an early election in spring, summer. Do you see that as a potential possibility for her?
Well, I will tell you that when I stopped with her in the hallway, the first thing I told her is you need to get rid of these recalls and you need to have an election right now. Um, I think that when we go back to the MOU and my question of could you imagine if she didn't sign it? If Danielle did not sign the MOU, not only did she make an enemy out of Ottawa, but you all of a sudden give Nenshi the ammunition he needs to start pushing and saying the same thing. Well, she doesn't care about Alberta. She doesn't care about what we're doing. And you mix that in with the ATA, the unions that are all coming up against her. It's the perfect storm for Nenshi to take the win. Danielle has appeared to be doing deals for Alberta to the mass public that if she were to hold an election today, again, maybe that's the benefit of her signing the MOU before getting out of it in April. Call an election, get your 4-year mandate renewed, then start working on sovereignty or wherever you want to go from there. I think it's very critical if Danielle wants to stay in power that she doesn't wait for 2027. She needs to get it as soon as possible.
I agree with that, because if she has that election and the referendum comes back as a no, there's a mandate. Alberta spoke. Okay, we can put this independence thing to the side for a bit and focus on strengthening Alberta within Alberta. If it comes back as yes, there's her mandate. Like, there's no lose-lose politically for her. And I do know that UCP will get behind her, and there'll be a strong push to make sure Nenshi doesn't get in. He's like such a horrible candidate that I don't think Alberta will sit back on that one. And even Nenshi came out and said the MOU was pretty good. He thought it was a good deal for Alberta. So maybe some of the other people in this party think that way too.
It gets that monkey off of Danielle's back, at least on that point. It's one less thing Nenshi can come after her for. I think that what we have to look at here is the broader scale, and it's one thing that I've tried to tell people since last week is that, you know, I understand people are frustrated. I understand there's people who want independence. I'm one of the strongest advocates for independence in this province. But what we have to look at is if we're going to say Danielle's playing 4D chess, we have to do the same. We have to look at the broader picture. If we push too hard and split the independence crowd, I know there's those like the Republican Party, there's those that want to scoop up those votes. We risk a vote split. And if this goes till 2027, you're going to see the United Conservative Party divided by those in the independence crowd, those who say things like Danielle's in the WEF or Danielle doesn't care about Alberta or it's all independence all the way. You're going to essentially hand a victory over to the NDP with that vote split. Keep in mind, as much as I like what the policies of the groups like the Republican Party hold, Cam Davies couldn't win his seat in one of the easiest ridings that he ran in. I essentially call him Alberta's Maxime Bernier. I mean, he has great ideas, but he can't get a landing. So what kind of votes would they get if Danielle were to call an election? Even in 2027, and the independence crowd is buffered, you're just going to see a handful of votes move plates. And much like the statistics I tried to show of Danielle's last election, her biggest fight is in Edmonton. It's a very orange city. She only got 52% of the vote in the last election. I'm sure that number has risen, but we don't want an NDP government. And those who want independence, if we get an NDP government, I'm not pro Danielle. I'm pro Alberta. If Nenshi gets in, say goodbye to Bill 54. Say goodbye to a referendum in general. You'll never get it again. So it's not making excuses for Danielle. It's that we need to play 4D chess as well and say, what's the end game with an independence vote? How do we get there? And if it were to fail, how do we get the best deal possible to secure Alberta's future and prosperity? Tell me somebody else who can pick up the ball and run better than Danielle. I'll vote for them any day of the week. But for now, I don't see anybody else that can do it better than her.
And I agree with that sentiment as well. I don't think there's anybody in the wings. There isn't somebody that's stepping forward right now. That includes everybody who has a voice, and we know who they all are. I don't think there's anybody that's capable. I know you have to run to get to your kids, so I'm just going to leave on this one. I was kind of battling with somebody on X this morning, and they said there's no support in the cities. You brought up Edmonton, and their comment was, you need to capture the wealthy people. I don't think so. I think the people who are going to make this decision on independence are the working class, the parents, and the young people. Those are the three groups I think have the biggest block, and is going to support it if we speak to them, including in the cities. And if the court comes back and says yes to the question for the APP, that kind of sidelines, because this is all about Indigenous issues and Indigenous treaties and rights, that will put that issue to bed for a bit. Then the focus needs to be on the cities, needs to be on working people, parents, and young people. And I do think there will be a campaign for those groups. Thoughts on that before you leave?
Well, for one, when it comes to the APP's question, I almost hope it gets approval, because while you could run with Lacaze's petition, I think that while the APP bolsters how many intended signatures they have to push for a vote, I'd like to see their numbers, because not only is it beneficial to us in the independence crowd, and it lays out the groundwork for how much work needs to be done to get a successful vote, it also shows Ottawa and it shows Alberta and those in charge in Alberta just how many are backing independence in the province. If they had strong numbers, let's keep it, we need roughly 2 million votes in order to leave a successful referendum by saying we're going to be our own country or our own republic. If APP were to garner somewhere between 900,000 to 1.1 million signatures before we have a referendum, that speaks volumes toward the Alberta government. It speaks volumes to Ottawa, that it not only paints a clearer picture for Danielle that, oh, okay, maybe there's actually more than I thought backing independence, but it also tells Ottawa we have a real problem on our hands. And if people think the MOU is the biggest problem right now, wait till the guns come out and the attacks really start coming once that petition is out in the open. You're going to see psyops. You're going to see liberal media attacking everything. You're going to see the federal government coming for Alberta. You're going to see smear after smear against the premier. Again, why I think she should have an election. Absolutely. But I think that there is headway to be made in cities like Edmonton. I do believe that there's other places where Danielle has already made headway. Again, I don't believe the polls. When you look at the turnout of the AGM, 4,500 members to show up in the middle of November is something truly amazing. I think Danielle currently has the support she needs. She needs to run now. That's as plain and clear as it gets. It's got to be now or never.
I've been thinking the same thing too, because she can accomplish a whole bunch by doing an early election. 4 more years, she'll get that referendum question done, and then she stops the recalls. There's a whole bunch of things I think it will work in her favor. And if you gauge Edmonton being, orange, the counter protesting that we saw was non-existent. There was a small little group that showed up Friday night at the rally. Small little group. Doesn't seem like there's a coordinated effort to try and get in the way of this in Edmonton even. So maybe there is a door opening there. The younger people are more conservative. The younger people are fed up with the radicalization. So that group seems to be very awake now. And also workers that have to go, work harder, but there's more grocery costs and more energy costs. They see it as well. And then parents, they want a lot more protection. They are actually on Danielle's side on this. It was the unions and the ATA that were not. They're waking up too. So she actually probably would have far more support in Edmonton even if there was an election soon, before anything else can go bad, frankly. Some of these recalls are successful. 3 of them go through. UCP government loses. That would be an NDP government if you got 3 recalls successful. So this might be the time to get it done before things get worse, politically speaking. Any last comments?
Well, what you got to realize is that when we talk about those who are protesting, I actually counted on the way out of the AGM. I think there was 17 people outside in the cold signs, very small. When you talk about trans and things like that, like I understand that there's a big push from political parties and unions, but you're talking about 0.002% of the population. It's not a big number that can affect votes. What I've always said is that part of the reason the MOU is there, and part of the reason that we've sat back and said independence in the first place, is that Albertans in particular, as well as Canadians, are going to need to see how tough the world gets before they'll vote in another direction. So those who are stuck on their virtue signaling, those who are stuck on, socialist issues, are going to turn around and say, gee, I can't afford an apartment. I can't afford to buy groceries. I can't afford my car payment or even to get a job because my last name isn't Singh. I can't, do a lot of things right now. I'm going to have to vote in favor, even though I normally don't vote for maybe somebody like Danielle Smith. I'm going to have to go shoe my vote over this way. The problem you have in Edmonton is there's a lot of government workers and there's a lot of unions. And those tied to the unions. So I'm not sure how you sway those individuals with the pressure that the unions put on them. I spoke with a lot of teachers during the teacher strike that say, I feel like I can't speak my opinion. I feel like I'll lose my job if I say something or vote against something the union wants. So there's still that end to grapple with. I'm not sure. I definitely think there's points to pick up in Edmonton, but I don't think you're going to see it flip from orange to blue anytime soon. Again, I think what has to happen is people's wallets have to take a beating for a little bit, and it's going to have to get worse before it gets better. But also being said at the same time, again, if Danielle were to call an election in to take place in March or April, I think she'd be in good shape to win.
Yeah, me too. And if
Yeah.
she also start talking about or hinting at or even bringing legislation forward for rights to work, you would see a huge chunk of union members be on board because they want to have the option and the choice for the very reasons you just laid out there. So that might be something. And then maybe 5 or 6 seats in Edmonton could be picked up. That's kind of what some people are saying, looking at some of the ridings there. If there was a lot more worker union support for the UCP, they could pick up about 5 or 6 seats in Edmonton and a few in Calgary as well. Well, thank you so much, Derek. It was really awesome to have you here, and you got to run, so I really appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure.
Oh,
it's always a pleasure to be
together.
Here. You bet. Thank you for having me. Anytime you want to come on as well, I'll try and free up some space. I know I've had some complications in the last little bit because our schedule's full, but we'll have you on soon as well. We got to keep talking about this. And for the independence crowd, all I want to leave off with is just be patient. Keep in mind that Alberta Prosperity Project has said they wish to work with the UCP. They prefer to work with the UCP. If you back independence and if you back Alberta Prosperity Project, it's important that until the courts decide, until we know the next move forward, we are patient and breathe. I think that's all I can really recommend for people who truly want independence. If we blow this lead that we have, it's over.
Thank you very much, Derek. The chat loves you. And yes, just reach out anytime. We'll find some time to get things done. You have yourself a wonderful day. Say hi to the family.
As
well.
And nice meeting you in person. Take care, bud.
Always. Take care.
Bye. Yeah, I think this movement is, it's got some rough waters, and it wouldn't be a conservative movement if there wasn't, but I think we can get through it. I didn't see division at the UCP party level. I certainly heard people express their opinion on certain portions of what Danielle's working on, and they also were very happy with other ones, like this gun stuff, and the third trimester stopped funding that for abortions. There was a lot of good things that came out of the UCP AGM. Don't believe the hype on the media, and watch out for those accounts that are just nothing but negative and trying to get people to turn on the party, Danielle, and actually divide us in some way. But I do think the sentiment is there. There may be an early election. I haven't heard anything out of UCP for that one, so I don't know. Just like Derek, it's kind of like it makes sense. It probably would be good. It would be a benefit.
This is to get rid of those recalls.
Yep. But let's go ahead and jump into our locals. Make sure if you want to join us in there, you can go to thelevineshow.com, do subscribe and like the show, get it out there. Really appreciate all the support we picked up over the weekend. And supporters as well. And going to thelevineshow.com, get yourself started on that is how you do that. And that's how we do these kind of things. That's how we're able to get out there. We're not sponsored by anybody. We work for you, and we're supported by you. So thank you very much to everybody who does that with us.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. And thank you for everyone who was in the chats, both in locals and online. I thought it was pretty good. And looking forward to having more conversations in local right now. And for everyone else, have a great day and see you tomorrow morning. Bye from me.
And keep those chats lively. We don't have to agree on everything, but let's be civil. Civil works, and we can have conversations. Love you all very much, and God bless.